All right, there we go. There we go. We are live. It's time for an episode of Building the Broncos. I am Nick Kendell in the transition of moving. My wife's box here. She had made me switch chairs, so now I feel like shorter because the camera is pointed down. But we're here. I'm 6 foot. I'm 6'1". I got little guy energy right now, but good to see everybody coming in here. And Carl, it's good to see you too. With great circumstances of the Broncos sitting there at 3-2 and Broncos country really feeling themselves with a winnable stretch of games coming up for the Broncos. It's the NFL. There are no guarantees, but a winnable stretch of games.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at you right now, it's kind of like that that kid that comes up is like, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" You're just looking up and yeah, please. But no, yeah, this is what a time to be a Bronco fan.
Yeah.
You couldn't have asked for a better week of football, or what, because it's not quite weekend, because we had the Monday night game that ended up breaking our way. And I mean, what a way to see the Chiefs lose.
Yeah.
You know, they've been doing that to everybody else. So to have it happen to them, it couldn't have happened to a better organization, you know. And watching Chris Jones, like, just kind of like, oh, play's over, I'm just going to stand here. And then Trevor Lawrence ends up getting back up. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback fall down twice, not get touched, somehow get up, take off running, and score a touchdown. That's a new one in the NFL. You know, It's kind of like that. I'm not going to be able to sing it very well, but the no, you know, like the clown music's going in the background of everything's like, yeah, that, yeah. There you got the better voice than I do, and it just felt like that was going on, and in the end, the Chiefs end up being the clown organization. Feels great. Then you have Chargers lose, you have Raiders lose. It just, everything worked out really well for the Broncos. And I just, then you look at the stretch that's coming up. We're going to talk about the schedule as we go through this, but Broncos really have an incredible opportunity to build a big lead in this division. And, you know, Chiefs have a really tough schedule. They have Detroit, they have the Broncos, they have the Colts, they have, I'm trying to think, there's a couple other big teams coming up for them that it wouldn't surprise me if you're in the next 5 games, they're like 3-7 or whatever. And you're kind of going, oh my goodness. So yeah, like I said, Broncos, great chance, but you got to finish off the games you should win.
Yeah. No doubt about that. And just to clarify for those at home, when I did the everything broke our way hand gesture that I did, I lost my fantasy game by 0.4 points because Hollywood Brown didn't turn his head around, I guess, or the Chiefs running in 2 touchdowns rather than a pass. But the Chiefs, I mean, I know we're really excited about Denver being ahead and the Chiefs losing like they have, but the offense looks pretty good and explosive for Kansas City. They won the turnover battle. They won the yards. I think they had more explosive plays. Obviously, a 99-yard pick six is the tail of the tape on that one. When you have a 99-yard touchdown return for interception for a touchdown, I think you're going to win that game a lot of times. But I'm not ready to dance on the Chiefs' graves by any means. It feels good right now, but they still scare the hell out of me. Oh, man, that game. I'm excited for those games coming up. I'm also excited for Michael Ronquillo coming in here saying, good evening, Nick and Carl. I'm building the Broncos. Go Bo Broncos. Great to see you, Michael. Good energy. Appreciate you always coming in here and supporting the show. He's also always hitting us up on Twitter after the fact, giving us a shout out. So make sure you guys are like Michael, dropping the $5 super, being a member, but also hitting us up after the fact as well. We get lonely. Feed into our social media football addictions here. Coach Chris gifted 5 memberships. God bless you, Coach Chris. Always coming in, supporting with super chat, supporting with gifts. Same with MBLE test prep. Michael Ronquillo again. David Youngkin, and a member for a month. This is incredible. So you guys are awesome. We also got our guy, the Sports Crunch, David Carmelo, coming in and says, I see at least 3 losses in the next 6 games, and nothing is a gimme. I don't know if I see 3 losses in the next 6, David, but you are correct in saying that nothing is a gimme. Right now, Denver needs to just make sure. I mean, it's weird circumstances, the emotional high of beating the Eagles, and now you go to play the only winless team in all of football, in the Jets. I think this team is too well coached. I think there's too many veterans. I think they have too many good pieces, but take care of business. This isn't, Alabama playing, Children for the Blind, Sisters of the Poor, Tech. This is an NFL team still that's hungry for the first game with a underrated offense, I think, rushing game wise. Especially, I like some of the design coming from the run game for them. And I also don't think Justin Fields is playing horrible. But granted, he's limited quarterback. But still, nothing is a gimme. Three of the next six, though, dropping 3 of the next 6. I think anything less than 4 and 6, a 4 out of the next 6 is a little bit of a letdown.
I would agree. I mean, you've got essentially 5 of the next 6 that are at least either home game or neutral. I mean, the Jets game, it's a neutral location, so it works out in the Broncos' favor since it's supposed to be a road game. And I mean, it kind of works out double because that field for the New York Jets, I would not want my team playing on that field. It just seems like injuries happen there every single year, every single week almost. And so it works out well for the Broncos that way. But like I said, 5 of the next 6, essentially kind of home games for them and some easier opponents. Obviously the 2 New York teams, both of them not looking great. I mean, Giants had one great game against the Chargers. Thank you very much. Appreciate them winning that one. But they lose Malik Neighbors. They've lost a few other pieces out there. They could be coming in not looking too great. And we're all going to be at that game. So hopefully that's going to be a really big win coming for the Broncos at that time. And then, like I said, the Jets, you said it. They have some talent. They have a few players, but they're just missing so much right now. And when you don't have a quarterback that can consistently take care of the ball, can, put it where it needs to be. I think they said, I was listening, 1 out of every 3 passes is going to one receiver. So it's kind of, you shut him down in the pass game, force it to go anywhere else. Good luck.
Garrett Wilson.
And then the offensive line. I was saying in our group chat earlier today, I watched the Jets-Cowboys game. They have talent on the offensive line, but they are not communicating at all. Mm-hmm. And there are just free blitzers or free guys coming forward. And you think about a lot of plays where Vance Joseph likes to have like 6 guys on the defensive line, and then maybe a couple of them drop back and you don't know which 4 are coming. This is that perfect game for that. Make them have to communicate perfectly. And so there's a real opportunity, like I said. But you can go from highest of highs of beating the Philadelphia Eagles to lowest of lows, losing to maybe the worst team in football, all in a matter of, a week time period. So
week to week league, Carl. That's right. We always talk about it. Not too high, not too low, but it's a week to week league, and you have to, that game. Enjoy your flight, enjoy your time in London. But this is a team that's searching for their first win. They're still professionals. And one thing I will say for the Sean Payton Broncos, specifically the last season and this season, they aren't dropping games when they're favorites. Like when they should win and when there's a talent advantage, it feels like for the most part, the Broncos have really, swept the leg, step on the throat, whatever, 80s movie, quote you want to use there. But, you never know. Just like Denver was not really winning a signature win before this Eagles game. You can say Tampa Bay, but that's kind of in hindsight. We weren't really sure what Tampa was going to be at that point. This one for sure, signature win. You got to keep it up. So I'm excited for that, and it should be a good game. And yeah, just looking ahead, the next 6 games, like David was talking about, you got at the Jets, New York Giants. That's also the Mile High Huddle meet and greet. Please come and say hello. I will not be hosting. I'm guessing Carl, because my house is like a bomb went off. God, it's hard to unpack when you have a 21-month-old, let me tell you, when you're working full time too. But I digress. Then you have 2 interesting games. Cowboys at home. Cowboys are probably the most, I know there's like a bias against the Cowboys, but like, let's just call them fun. Like they're Big 12 football right now. They can't stop anybody, but they might put up 50 points. And they're doing it without CeeDee Lamb right now. And I'm a little bit butthurt. I'm happy for him, but like Javonte Williams has been one of the best running backs in football so far. Should have been here. Good guy. So I'm pulling for him. And we got J.K. Dobbins and Harvey. So I'm not crying too much, but man, I feel bad that it couldn't happen here for us and for him. At Houston, Denver should eat that offensive line, but they're one of 2 teams, Carl, that have a better statistical defense than the Broncos right now when you take out turnovers. So that tends to be a little bit more predictive when you take out turnovers, because turnovers can be fluky. And then also Raiders and then Chiefs. So 3-3. I hate to make guarantees, especially that's more games than the Broncos have even played at this point. knock on wood, injuries could happen. They could look totally different. But
Right.
3-3 feels like the expectation floor for this team in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. If you only go 3-3, at that point, I'm kind of going, okay, maybe you're not the team that we were all hoping that they would be. And maybe that will be the case. Maybe they just overplayed against the Philadelphia team that's been on the brink of losing a lot of these games, and it was just bound to happen at some point. And maybe we're reading too much into that kind of win for them. But I do think that is an incredible confidence booster to get this off their back of, hey, we've been losing all these close games. We struggle against really good opponents, and especially going on the road in this kind of an environment. You know, they haven't lost at home since like week 3 of 2024. I think was the last time that they lost at home. And so it just, like I said, I still think it was a very, very quality win for the Broncos. And with a young team like the Broncos have, building that kind of confidence. And beyond that, I think one of the biggest things that I really love about the Broncos right now is they are winning their toughest matchups. You think of Cortland Sutton in this last game. He was going against Quinyon Mitchell. My favorite way to say that name is Quinyon, just because, I don't know, it just sounds like that to me. But that's a great cornerback. You could make an argument for him being a top 5, top 7 cornerback in football. And those two were battling one-on-one for most of the game. Sutton missed that early one that he probably should have had, but he still put up some really, really good numbers, came up with some really big catches. And so, again, a great victory for him. I thought our 2 edge guys going against their 2 tackles, I would give the edge to the Broncos of winning that one. You look at Bonitto and the type of tackles that he's beating right now. Yeah, it's great. And we got Phil Coffin coming in saying, good evening, Nick, Carl, and Deacon Scott. Is Bonitto going to be Defensive Player of the Year? He sure has a great start. Any news on Powers? So I'll start. We'll just continue this conversation about Bonitto. Yeah, I think he's very much going to be in the running. When you're the sack leader, like that gives you a huge boost when it comes to Defensive Player of the Year. Those are the sexy stats, I guess is the way you would say it, that people really pay attention to. You know, Surtain winning it last year, I mean, it was an all-time cornerback season, so that helps, but it almost takes that kind of season for a cornerback to win it. It's usually edge, interior defensive line. Every once in a while, a linebacker or safety who will have lots and lots of turnovers might win it, but that's about the only way that they can win it. And so he's got a very good chance. Like I said, he's doing it against the best guys. The Eagles left tackle, great player. You think about earlier in the season, some of the tackles he was playing, again, dominated them. And so I don't think the sacks are going to stop. I think the Broncos, especially over this next stretch, Justin Fields holds on to the ball too long at times. You think of with the Giants, their quarterback's holding on to the ball way too long. Dak will get it out pretty quick. Houston, you've got a real advantage against their offensive line. Vegas, again, not a great offensive line.
Probably the worst in football outside of Jackson Powers Johnson. They're with Colton Miller hurt. They're dreadful.
Yeah. So he's got a real chance to put up another 6, 7, 8 sacks over the next 6 weeks and really cement himself as one of the great edge rushers in football right now. Now, he still needs work on his run defense. It's still not 100%, up there with like the Myles Garrett, TJ Watt kind of level.
It's not fair.
It's never
anybody to
right.
Garrett, but
right. Well, yeah, he's a freak of nature. I mean, it's one of those unique that you just don't find somebody built like that very often.
No.
And it's why, he went so high in the draft. So, but like I said, Bonitto, he is very much in the running. If he can stay healthy, keep doing what he's doing, the way he's winning, it's not even like the other guys are, forcing easy sacks for him. He's winning that quick around the edge to get to the quarterback, make the hit. And so, yeah, the other part of this, the Ben Powers, he's going to be out for a while. They're hoping maybe December he could come back. But right now it's looking like Matt Pert is probably going to be your guy starting there at left guard.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think there's been an official announcement yet. From what we've talked about and heard, they kind of want Palczewski on the right side, and that doesn't mess with things as far as his technique too much. I know a lot of people specifically, I mean, I love Tristan Wirfs, so when he said it, everybody jumped on it, and I'll give him credit, but he co-opted it for somebody. It's an old offensive line saying that, like, going from the one side of the offensive line to the other, it's possible, but it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it's kind of like wiping after you take care of business with your other hand. It's just like, oh, that felt wrong. So like doing that is harder than you'd expect. So maybe they would know in the coaching staff what data we do have to go off of. Now, granted, it's not great because you're playing your second string unit, so you're not exactly sure. But Palczewski never played, at least from PFF's data, in the last 2 preseasons, never played left guard, left tackle. It's all been right guard, right tackle. And you had Parrott play left guard this season after Nick Gargiulo, who was having a great camp, really good first preseason game, went down with I think it was ACL. I always get ACL and Achilles crosswired in my brain. I think it was ACL. So I would expect it to be Parrott. It's obviously going to be a step back for the Broncos and something to keep an eye on for the run game and pass protection. But Powers should be out for, I think they said 8 weeks following bicep surgery. And shout out to him. He played 100% of the snaps. He played through the bicep injury. So holy cow. I know like Powers, we've been talking, he's replaceable, not very good. I mean, he was okay last season. He's been playing good football this year. And we're going to miss him a lot. So I think fans will be calling for Palczewski, but I think we need to understand that the coaches have much better perspective on what's going on in practice and what these players are comfortable with. And maybe he's just not comfortable with the technique on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So we'll see. We'll find out soon. I'm hoping Wednesday, Thursday, somebody's going to ask that, and we'll get some information. It's also the other part, as far as Nick Bonitto, Defensive Player of the Year, he's on pace to break the sack record. Obviously, he is not an all-encompassing run defender, and as much as I'm old school pocket crunching run defense, he is not. Again, Myles Garrett, some of those other players, but right now I think he's probably in the class of like the top 5 or 6 guys. So if he keeps it up, he's got a chance. But you have some really good players right now. Aiden Hutchinson would have run it. I love Patrick Surtain. Aiden Hutchinson before he went down was the heavy favorite to win the award last season, and he's on a tear so far this season. I think he has the most pressures so far this season, as well as 6 sacks. So he's been awesome. He's got to be up there. Fred Warner is having, again, Fred Warner, I know we always love like romanticize Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher, but like Fred Warner, Luke Kuechly, Fred Warner I think deserves to be in the conversation with those guys for his career. Yeah. He is unfreaking believable. And then this season, it's not just who's the best defensive player always, Carl, but who has the key signature moments and the splash plays. Devin Lloyd. Yep, exactly. So it's early. Again, 5 games, but Devin Lloyd already has 4 picks, including the signature, primetime game, 99-yard interception return for a touchdown. Narratives do matter for those awards. So I'm just throwing out a few other names. Bonitto's certainly in the conversation, and we're only 5 games in, so we got plenty of time. And Keith giving me a hard time saying, Nick, without the hat's a little weird. You know what? I got a full head of hair here that I should show off. Thick hair. I do have hats, but I'm just going to show off the wavy, the shine here. Keith also asked Broncos Defensive Rookie of the Year so far. It's got to be Crawshaw. It's got to be the punter. I think the Eagles in the first half of the game on Sunday, I think their average starting field position was like the 13. I apologize. The cat just came in, of course, if you heard that big meow. But I think it's got to be Crawshaw. There's still a chance for some other guys as well, but he's been awesome. And after a very bad camp and preseason, he's been great, fantastic. One of the biggest surprises, pleasant surprises for the team this season for me.
Yeah, I think the other rookies will get more and more playing time as the season goes on. Barron didn't have many snaps in this last one, but he had a couple shining moments. A really big knockdown on third down late in the game. Harvey didn't really get much run in this last game. I think they just kind of were leaning into, okay, we've got a tough defense. We got to lean on the veteran that's really clicking right now in the run game. But he'll get more carries, especially these next few games. Like you were saying, Dallas, their defensive line there's times where every one of them are pushed back 5 yards and a running back's just moving like, I mean, I could see both running backs having 100 yards in that game rushing and Harvey having a 50-yard carry, whatever, against that defensive line. They're not very good. Like I said, that could be that classic 2013 season Broncos Cowboys where it was like 51-48 was the final score. I'm not saying our defense is going to be that bad, but I don't expect our offense to be that good either. So, but it could be a really high 31-28 kind of game by the time you get done with that one. And like I said, the running game really taken off. Jets are not great against the run either. Vegas, you can run on them. Kansas City, you can run on them. Houston, that's going to be a tough one for the offense, whoever's carrying the ball. But and then a stat that kind of surprised me, Pat Bryant was tied for the second most snaps by a wide receiver in this past game with Franklin. Mims is fourth now. He's still listed as the number 2 wide receiver, but he's really dropping off on the number of snaps they're giving him on the field. Now, I'm sure it's matchup related, depending on what kind of team you're playing, but still something to keep an eye on of where those snaps are going. But we have Naj coming in with a 1999 super chat here. Thank you, Naj, saying, "Hey, brothers, see you bros in a week and a half. Go Broncos." Yeah, I'm getting excited. It's one of those times, just need to we got a fan in the background getting ready to hang out here. So but no, it's exciting to get to come see all you guys, get to hang out, and Nick and I getting to see each other again. We haven't seen each other since the hike, so I might have to really try to lose a few pounds here to look okay for him and him not yell at me like, "What are you doing out there?" But no, Naj, excited to see you, man, and just ready for your pep talk before the game, letting us know Broncos are ready to whoop some what.
You missed the night before last year. That's where the chaos happened. But good to see you, Naj. I always appreciate him. Excited to see you so much. And it was fun last year getting you to join us for the live stream afterwards as well. So fantastic. Getting back on track here as far as the next stretch of games, Carl, I'm going to ask you a few scenarios here. So we had that David coming in, pessimistic. He thought, maybe the Broncos, he actually did make a bet with me that he thought the Broncos would go 0-4 after their first win. I'm like, I don't think so. Just probability wise, it's hard to go 0-4. So if you want to bet me that one again, David, maybe you want to hit me with a 3-3 one. But I want to ask you, what's more likely for Denver? A 2-4 over the next stretch or a 6-0?
I would, and maybe this is the optimist in me, I would say 6-0.
Man.
Like I said, 5 in the next 6 really kind of being home games or neutral. Mm-hmm. That plays big. Denver, the Broncos have been great in Denver under Sean Payton. It is a huge advantage, especially for this defense. Those guys getting off the edge and having that, guard touching the center. Oh, now we're going. And so I think that's going to be huge for the Broncos. The month of October, I think it's been talked about probably before here. That's a really good month for Sean Payton. He's one of the winningest coaches in the month of October that we've ever seen. And so you look at these next few games here, he could go 3-0, and I don't think anybody would blink an eye going, "Yep, they should be the favorite in those games." And then I look at the Raiders game. Raiders are heading in a very bad direction right now. Houston, yeah, they had the big win this last week, but I think we're figuring out Baltimore is not very good.
No.
Their defense is terrible. Lamar is hurt. The Kansas City win against them. Everybody was like, "Oh, Kansas City's back." I'm not sure how much I'd really read into that win now, because Baltimore, like I said, maybe the worst defense in football. And not that the Chiefs, like you said earlier, Chiefs offense looking like they're getting some things figured out. But I think the Broncos have a real chance to go on a great run here, build some confidence, really get Bo Nix locked in. And, the month of October is where he started taking off last year. Mm-hmm. I really do think that could happen here again. That fourth quarter going 9 of 10, and just there were some really nice throws within that grouping there. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what he needed, just that confidence boost of, hey, I can do this. I just got to trust my technique. I've got to go out there, trust what the coach has given me. And maybe this is what really, like I said, takes him off to being that guy that went on a huge run of what, like, I think it was like 10 touchdowns to 0 turnovers over like a 3-game stretch. And it's only happened a few times in NFL history.
Yeah, no, he went on a tear. That'd be great to see again. My concern with it, and I'm with you. I think 6-0 is more likely than 2-4. My concern right now is the offensive line. The Broncos haven't really, and this is a problem across the league, right? Like there's just not enough good offensive line plays. So like once you start getting in the depth, it can get scary fast. But you're down 1 now. It's been this. Let's call it what it is. It's been the strength of the offense outside the red zone play calling and design. You lose another one for extended time, you might be in some trouble. And as encouraged as we are about Bo Nix and the run game, what we've seen, but specifically Bo Nix, statistically this season, he's still been one of the lower ranked quarterbacks when under pressure. And this dates back, it's not just this season. He's better this season, but last season especially, I think he was out of 40 qualifying quarterbacks with a minimum dropbacks. I think he was the lowest strength in pressured dropback EPA per play. And that's not all on him because the EPA per play is a system stat at the end of the day, and the variables change. So like it's still like it's just one isolated number, but it is a concern. It's something to keep an eye on with Bo Nix because I have very little doubt that now that Powers is out, the pressure rate's going to go up. He needs to be better under pressure, and that's what you want from your quarterback, right? Like when things like happen, if your quarterback's going to be the guy and guys go down around him, they're plugging and playing. He needs to elevate his play. I do worry about him putting too much on himself still. Maybe that with the success of this last game, he can be a little bit more, within the structure, calm, and not be as hyped up, happy feet that we were seeing early on. But when players start to fall around him, that's when you find out if your guy is a franchise caliber guy because they have to, keep the ship afloat. Bossman J, $20 coming in here. Also a member. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Looking snazzy there with your pick with your beautiful bride. Says, what's up, fellas? Showing some love. Well, we appreciate that, boss man. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Tuesday and hope you're riding high like the Broncos as well. So, Carl, back to this next 6-game stretch. That kind of, I like to look at the season in more in like quarter snapshot, but like 6 games, how it looks, especially because the bye week immediately after, it makes sense to kind of look at it that way as well. Right now, if I were a betting man, I would probably put the over-under on 4.5 personally for the Broncos win total. So over-under there. I want to see what the offensive line looks like, but you do have some very winnable games. So I think I would take the over. I probably would bet 5-1 over the next 6. But 4.5 seems like the line, and I don't know if I would touch it.
Yeah, it would be a tough bet to make. But I'm with you. I'd probably go the over. And maybe this is just, again, us riding high after a great win. But at the same time, there's a lot of these teams that are going in the wrong direction. And Broncos, I just think that they're starting to finally get some things going on offense. We saw a few things working. We see the run game starting to really click. And they're finally starting to figure out how to use some of these guys. I just think the best is ahead for the Broncos right now for this season. I really think that they were kind of working some things out there to start September. They weren't quite, it's not that they weren't ready for the season. It's just we've seen this with Sean Payton where he kind of still does almost like an extended preseason where he's still trying to figure out all the pieces. And it's annoying because those games count. We saw Cincinnati last year. They went on a tear to end the season. And the reason they didn't make the playoffs is because they stunk up the early part of the year.
I mean, how about the Raiders dropping the Patriots dropping week 1 to the Raiders? Like that kind of thing. It's like, could come back to bite you. So those games count, unfortunately, just as much.
For sure. And but one that doesn't bite us in the butt is Phil coming in. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But Phil, thank you for coming in.
For a super chat, then whatever, man. But he does say, right now, cross-shot leading rookie of the year. I'm with you. But he says, who would take over that honor, Harvey or Bryant? I think it's probably Harvey just because there is less competition in front of him and he has a more defined volume role right now. He's starting to get an uptake in touches, and it's not just the run game, it's the pass game as well. And I'll knock on wood, but like we all know, elephant in the room is Dobbins' injury history. So I think right now, Bryant, he definitely has a role, but it's more like the dirty work guy on offense. It doesn't really lend itself to like targets, and maybe it will at some point. But I think the answer is probably Harvey, just given what's in front of him and the defined role that he already has.
Yeah, if I had to put the number of players ahead of Bryant that I think are going to get more targets, I think I'd probably put him about number 5 or 6 on the list. I mean, when you've got Sutton, you've got Ingram, you've got the 2 running backs, you've got Franklin. I think all those guys will be ahead of him in target share. And then you've got Bryant. And so it's just hard to see how he's going to become that guy. Now, he could become, rookie of the year just because he's such a great run blocker and he springs some big plays that help break open games. We saw that a couple weeks ago where big play around the edge, he was the guy leading the way and set a really, really nice block for a touchdown for Dobbins. But, that's not really going to get recognized as much as the actual stats of being a receiver. So I think Harvey's going to get more of an opportunity. This last week, yeah, he didn't get very many carries. I really think that was just a matchup thing of, hey, we are going against a really tough opponent. We just need our veteran in there to carry the load for this game. I think there's going to be more of a closer to a 50-50 split for these next few games. And especially, like I said, got some really bad run defenses where offensive line could move some people. And if he gets even just a little bit of a crease, boom, he could be gone. I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for him to have more explosive plays once again, whether it's in the run game or the pass game. I think he's going to have some great opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, just like looking at the stats for Harvey and Bryant, like Bryant's getting out there for snaps so far this season, but he has 3 targets compared to 13 from Harvey. And you're talking running back. That's just the pass game. So it's probably has to be Harvey for this one for now. But we'll see. We got a lot of love for the dog. Yeah, this is Summit. He's out. He's cold. He's chill. He's 0 and 100, man. He's a good dog though. But yeah, getting on it. Carl, we haven't had a chance to talk too much about your thoughts on this Eagles game as well. I mean, what is going into Philly, Denver's first win in Philly since 1987, I want to say, mean to you? Like, is this a biggest win since Super Bowl 50? Is this going to springboard the Broncos? Are the Eagles actually good this season? I mean, like, obviously going in and it wouldn't even matter who they played, like coming back down 14 in the fourth quarter and playing like they did, defense and offense would be awesome, but doing it on the road in Philly with an undefeated Super Bowl champion, that's huge. But what are your just overall thoughts for that victory? And is it as big as Broncos is feeling right now? And do you think it'll remain that big going forward? Or is it going to be one where it's like, oh yeah, Eagles, they're a little overrated?
I would put it as the second biggest win. Okay. And talking about a nice win here, we'll get to this real quick before I finish my thought here. We got Denver Luke coming in with the 199 saying, how many sacks does Nick have in the next 5 games? I would probably put the over-under at 6. I think it's hard to get 1 sack per game, but I think he's got a real chance to get multiple sacks like he's been doing in a couple of these games. And especially these quarterbacks that are going to hold on to the ball way too long. When I'm looking at, they want big plays down the field, and there are a couple younger quarterbacks that just sometimes don't feel the pressure like they should. So I think he's going to have, I would say probably I'd go the under. I'd probably put it at 5, but it would not surprise me if he has 6 or more.
I would say 5. 1 per game average would be the number that I'd come at, but you never know. I think as big as it is for who they're playing or the offensive line's coming up, can the Broncos get a lead coming up in these games? It feels like, these have been a lot of tight games, but can it be a game where you're up 10, 14 in the fourth quarter and they have 3 possessions ahead of them and they're in obvious drop back, spread them out situations, especially with Fields and Dart coming down the tracks. So I think that's a big question. Can the offense, not sleepwalk through the first 3 quarters, get a lead and really let these guys pin their ears back for a bigger chunk of the game? So we'll see. But yeah, Bonitto, maybe the best pass rusher in football right now. He's been really unbelievable. Sacks can come in bunches. I hope we're appreciating the run he's in right now. It's kind of like right now he's on pace to break the sack record. Scott in the background saying right now he's on pace for 24, NFL record of 22.5. Extra game obviously helps. Got to stay healthy. But sacks, kind of like turnovers, can come in bunches. Sometimes he'll go quiet. I mean, we had Von Miller, who was a generational player, and there'd be 3 or 4 games just like, oh, where's Von? He's making an impact. You're just not seeing the sacks on the stat sheet. But I think the biggest thing for his sack total and keeping the party going, it's going to be the offense getting a little bit more in control from the game. And hopefully Denver can do that as they showed versus the Bengals. And we talked about earlier, when they play inferior opponents, for the most part in the Sean Payton era, they take it to them.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the Eagles game. Yeah. I'd call it the second biggest win since the Super Bowl. I think beating the Chiefs in 2023, getting that monkey off our back, every time we played them, we saw the stat of, they're 11-0, they're 12-0 against Broncos, whatever, however high it got. I think that was a bigger win for the organization, just to start believing, okay, we can play against some top tier opponents and be okay. I would say this one is going to mean a lot more for the building of the overall team, in the sense of we have Super Bowl aspirations. These are the kind of games we've got to go win. You can't just beat up on the inferior opponents, squeak into the playoffs, and expect that you're all of a sudden now going to click to be able to beat these top tier teams. You've got to go prove that you can do it in the regular season first. And so being able to do it the way that they did, the Eagles, probably the best closing team in football over the last year and a half. Jalen Hurts, what was it? He'd won like 21 out of 22 games that he played the entire game. And like I said, they hadn't lost at home hardly at all. There's just a lot of things there. And like I said, they close out those close games. Broncos have struggled to close out close games. And it was kind of, when the Eagles got the ball back, I'm like, are we really going to lose a third game with zeros on the clock? They're going to throw this Hail Mary, and thankfully the 2 receivers fought over it, and they just kind of won the game for us. But I really was kind of nervous of, are we really not going to close out one more game? And thankfully things worked out. But to see them make that comeback of being down 14, not being in panic mode, nope, we got this. I think, one, it's a big confidence booster for Bo Nix. And like I said, the way that he played, I think for the defense, the way that they made adjustments in that game, one, I think that's really big for Vance Joseph to be like, okay, what we've been doing isn't quite working. Like it's not bad, but it's not the best we could be doing. And so all of a sudden he switched to a lot of half zone, half man coverage. And it really confused Jalen Hurts in that offense. And it just really set them up where, okay, nope, they're not scoring again. And that's what gave the Broncos an actual opportunity there. So, like I said, big showing. Great to see the run game, be able to run against them. The pass game, like I said, Sutton being able to beat one of the best corners in football. I mean, he's quietly, it's kind of weird. You don't think he's been having these kind of stats, but over the last 17 games, he is third in receiving yards in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are the only 2 ahead of him in receiving yards. That is a crazy stat for him. He is 9th in touchdowns. He is 9th in receptions. So he is playing like a top 10, maybe top 5 wide receiver right now. Now he gets a lot of targets, so that helps. But it just kind of shows like he's really become something more than he has been. And I think that's the great thing for the Broncos is they keep showing, like Bonitto had a great season last year. He is playing even better this year. Cooper had a great season last year. He is playing better than he did last year. Troy Franklin has become a whole new player for us. The offensive line, like Garrett Bowles was a really good left tackle. Yeah. He is playing like a top 2-3 left tackle in football. You could make the argument he is the best left tackle in football right now. I don't think that would be – there's some other guys that are playing really well. But I'm just saying, like, he is having an outstanding season. And usually it takes him about 4 or 5 games to really kind of get into the year. Nope, he hit the ground running for the Broncos. And so there's just a lot of guys that I'm looking at and I'm going, okay, yeah, they've really taken that next step that is helping to elevate this team from, okay, we can make the playoffs. Now we can actually compete with the top tier teams. And, should have beat the Chargers. Colts are looking like maybe a top 2 or 3 team in football. Broncos should have won that game.
Yeah.
Really, really stupid penalties. The only reason they didn't win that game.
Yeah. I don't know if we discussed it, but a lot of the stats point to the Colts should have won that by more, but like the discrepancy in red zone defense, which honestly might be this team's like superpower this season, how good the Broncos are in the red zone, both sides of the ball. They've been awesome on the offensive side of converting and really good at stifling the other teams. And when you're scoring 7 and the other team's scoring 3, when you get down there, that's pretty much, turnover battle. That's worthy of like a turnover. So yeah, we'll see. I'd love to get another chance at the Colts, hopefully in Denver this time, but we'll see. Other thoughts on this Eagles Broncos game, just takeaways. Specifically, again, Bo Nix, really good in the fourth quarter, specifically, like 10 for 12 or something like that. A lot of good throws on tape as well. I thought there was some big time throws across the tape in this one. So thought it was a better game for him. Took some sacks maybe he shouldn't have, took points off the board. Not all on him, offensive line miscommunication, stuff like that. But for me, something that I thought that I think he only ran like 3 times in the game, 4 times, but there was just like a gravity and like a feeling like after he actually started to tuck the ball and run, it really felt like it opened things up for the offense as well. And I know that you never want the quarterback scramble to be the basis of your offense by any means. But I do wish, being 6'2", 215 pounds, and as twitchy and as athletic as he is, I'd love to see him tuck the ball and run more. You got to protect yourself. I feel like he's shifty enough in the open field that you don't see him taking a lot of just like square big hits as well. And I just think he could use that a lot more often, especially if the offense is a little DOA, kind of like we've seen, at least we've seen at some points this season from the Broncos and the pass game specifically. So that was a big takeaway I had. I haven't heard anybody talk about that or really mention it too much. And I know the sample was small, but again, you see I think every single one was a successful play as far as gaining at least half the yardage for the first down that was necessary and beating some guys open there. So as long as he can get outside and protect himself, I would love to see him tuck and run a little more. It's a little double-edged sword because like you want him to, in the end of the day, he needs to be a pocket quarterback, needs to be calm in the pocket, working on climbing the ladder, getting through his reads within the confines of a drop back pass game. But he also is an athlete, and it's a kind of get out of jail free card that I would love to see a little bit more. And I felt like as soon as he started doing that, it kind of all of a sudden the offense was successful and getting to good drives and points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the top tier quarterbacks minus Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow just has to run for his life anyway from the pocket, whether he's running out of the pocket or in the pocket. But Mahomes, very underrated runner of the football. Like he understands that there was a play yesterday I was watching where it was complete man coverage across the board. Every defender turned their back. He just took off running for a 15-yard gain. Like, oh, yep, you're all going to have your back to me. Boom, this is an easy carry. And, of course, Josh Allen, the way that he can run, Lamar, the way that he can run. You just look at all those top-tier quarterbacks and you're going, okay, yes, they use their legs to make a defense have to respect, I could do this at any point. And like I said, you got to be careful with it. But I think Bo is very smart. Like he, like I said, he doesn't take the big hits. He only takes the chances when he really needs to. There's a couple times where I'm like, man, you could have picked up another 5 yards if you didn't slide there. But at the same time, I'm going, okay, that's fine. You picked up the first down. That's all we needed. I don't care about you going and getting hit, picking up that extra 5 yards. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, it is. It's a very big opportunity for him to make a defense have to really respect that, maybe keep an extra defender in to watch where he's going, which makes things easier down the field, makes teams have to play a little bit more zone coverage, where maybe you can take advantage of a few things that otherwise wouldn't be there. It does. It changes the numbers on the field of how the defense has to play. And there were times last year, like early in the year, he took off running a lot, and maybe it was too often. But it felt like almost by the end of the year, he was not taking off enough. There's times where he could have ran for a first down, but tried to squeak one into a really tight window, and maybe a receiver dropped it or something like that. I'm like, just take off, dude. Just go get the first down. Don't worry about it. And so I'd love to see that a little bit more. He does that in the red zone a lot, and that's great. That's part of why the Broncos are so good in the red zone, is because he will take off. If, hey, everybody's covered, boom, I'm going for a first down, touchdown, whatever it may be.
I feel like it's such a natural part and evolution or addition to what they're already calling as well. Because right now, as far as like stagnant's the wrong word, but like a traditional drop back with pass game in the pocket, Bo Nix has struggled there. And Sean Payton and the Broncos, because of that, have designed a lot more movement from their quarterback in the run game. I'd be fine with him tucking it more often than he is right now. So I think he protects the football really well. Also, the opposite of Justin Fields, a great athlete, but he puts the ball on the turf a lot.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see him get a little bit more involved in the run game from now and then, because you can see him in the open field. Like, he is a good athlete. And I think that could just bring another element to the offense and just set them up in a better situation, especially while they still kind of work in some of the kinks in the down-to-down efficiency of the pass game.
Right. And Tony Romo brought that up of, I think Vic Fangio had said, oh, he reminds me of Baker Mayfield. And he's like, he's more athletic than Baker Mayfield.
I don't know if his arm is as strong, but he's definitely, I think he's a better athlete for sure. He's twitchier. Like, his foot getting in the ground and moving forward is like, oh my God, like, that doesn't look like a basketball player. But I'm always shocked when I see him tuck the ball and run.
And he'll make guys miss in the open field. Yeah. He really does well. So like I said, take off if you got the opportunity and make it a weapon for sure. It just makes defenses really have to defend so many parts of the field. And when you have to worry about a quarterback taking off, when you're playing man coverage, you're kind of looking over your shoulder, like, has he taken off? And I'm just looking silly running away from him as he's running towards me. And so, yeah, I completely agree with you. Maybe not against the Jets, because I think you can just win without having to expose them to any of that. But when you get against like the Chiefs, some of these tougher opponents, that can become a huge weapon that really gives you the advantage.
The one thing that caps the potential of Bo Nix becoming a little bit more utilized as a scrambler is that the Broncos have been getting way more zone looks defensively and eyes on the quarterback. Like, if it's man and you clear out an area, the quarterback can run 20, 30 yards with Bo Nix's athleticism against man. They're not really getting man looks as much right now because Sean Payton can design those up, and they just struggled a little bit more against zone. So I thought they did better against the Eagles there in the second half, but that's something, it does cap it a little bit. Cody W coming in $5 says, I think we saw Sean and Ingram argument, gets Ingram the ball more. Sean loves the fire and pushback. We've seen it with Bo last year. They're all competitors, man. And if you're just kind of, putting your head down, obviously you don't want a Josh Gannon on the sideline incident, but there's a lot of pride and fire, and these guys want to win. So yeah, it was good to see him get involved, and hopefully I think the ship has sailed as far as Ingram being the lead target getter for this Broncos team this year. I think we kind of talked about some hot takes like, hey, look out for that. Ingram wide receiver too. Still a lot of season to go, so we will see on that front. Right now, it probably is going to be Franklin. But yeah, I love to see him get more involved because, again, talking about beating zone defenses, working the middle of the field, something that Bo Nix has not. He has a lot of strengths, but those are some areas that we could see improvement on, and having a tight end work that would help a lot.
With the game that Evan Ingram just had, does that, like, I've seen on Twitter a lot today, people talking about trading for Njoku. Does his kind of game that Ingram just had kind of make you go, I think we're good at tight end? There's other positions I'd rather target than tight end.
I think tight end is still on the field because Njoku's a lot different than Ingram. Honestly, Njoku would be coming for Troutman's position more than anybody else. So I think it comes down to what the decision makers feel about Troutman's role in there. I know that Sean Payton, loves him, but I think that that's one if there's an injury or something, we can talk about it. But I think they might just roll with the trio they have, barring injury. Obviously, you're always looking to add talent, and if you think he can be a 5-year plus player for you, certainly you can look into it. it's risky to like just outright dismiss it given Evan Ingram's injury history. Luckily, we still have another 3-4 weeks before we have to make a decision there on that front. But I don't think it's not as much an Ingram decision, I think, as it is a Troutman decision.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And, I don't mind Ingram having that fire on the sideline one bit. I do. My problem is when it becomes kind of like what the Eagles ran into this last week, where they had their receivers kind of going to social media and being upset. Like your team is undefeated and you're frustrated with your role. And I get it. Like they want the ball, they're playmakers, but it's hard when you're winning to be that kind of guy, because it feels like it's almost like a selfish thing. And we saw it this last week. Like they changed up the game plan. They went away from what was winning them all these games and some kind of ways they tried to force feed it to them. And yes, they got a lot more receiving yards, but they lost a game. So maybe it kind of shows, hey, our formula was working. Maybe we should really stick with what we've got. And yes, I get that you're going to be frustrated with that situation, but you came here to win, I would hope. And the team is bigger than an individual. And I think Ingram's that way. I do think he is more of a team kind of guy, but he also understands, I think I can be an impact guy for this team too. And right now that hasn't been happening so far. Part of it's been injury. Part of it's just been offense is not completely functioning at full go yet. I think once they kind of get that chemistry built, then we'll begin to see a lot more of that connection. And like I said, being able to target the middle of the field, take on those zone coverages, and make teams go, okay, man's not working, zone's not working. What are we even going to try to do against this guy?
Yeah. Honestly, as far as trade goes right now, I think you're probably looking linebacker first and foremost, maybe defensive tackle if you want, or I think defensive tackle just because you can never have enough of those guys. If you wanted to sub out Wazarike or Jackson for somebody better there, it wouldn't be a big splash, but just like in the margins. And left guard, honestly, is one that you keep an eye on. If the Browns keep flailing, I don't know what the contract looks like, but somebody like Joel Bitonio, who's just a veteran and been around for a bit, I can't imagine he'd cost too much to bring in. That would be one to potentially keep an eye on. But those teams, those 1 or 0 win teams right now. But final thing I wanted to talk about, Carl, just with this team, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, but defense is great right now. Obviously, they're playing great. They're top 5 in the league, probably the best pressure unit. They have some weaknesses. Riley Moss got to play a little better. I know it's a hard assignment. He's playing admirably, and he is mid 3rd round pick. Like he's doing fine. I don't think the calls for him being replaced are warranted, but I would like to see a little bit more plays on the football from him as well. I think that's the big thing. I can live with a little bit of some of the, especially playing as much man as they do opposite PS2. I can live with some of the chunk plays every once in a while. We need some ball production from him as well, and the linebacker's weakness. But coming back to ball production, defense needs to start taking the ball away. Denver right now, only 4 takeaways on the season, which is kind of shocking considering how many hits they're getting on the quarterback. I know they play a lot of man, so you don't have eyes on the football as much, but hopefully they can get I'm hoping this Eagles game, given how good they were in zone in the second half, and that could be more of an Eagles thing than a Broncos thing, but maybe being a little bit more varied in their coverage, in their rush design as well. Vance Joseph did a good job in that. I'd love to be a little bit more varied. Year 3 under Vance Joseph, a lot of the same players on the defense still as well. And really, if this defense is going to take it to the next level and become a Super Bowl caliber defense, right now they're very good. They have to start hunting and taking the ball away. That's the difference, and that's a level that we're not there right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do hope that they play a little bit more zone, because they didn't look lost this year as they did last year. That they were forced into playing some zone when Riley Moss went down. Patrick Surtain was banged up there for a couple games, and linebackers were hit and miss. And so they tried playing some zone, and it did not look good. Just guys looked like they didn't know where they're supposed to be. That game against the Eagles, yeah, it looked very, very competent. So I think you could mix in a little bit more, which takes a little bit of pressure off Riley Moss too. He's got the biggest spotlight on the team other than Bo Nix on him. because, like I said, he's given up some of these chunk plays, but he has been trusted to be left on an island, sometimes against the number one wide receiver.
Yep.
You know, Surtain follows a lot, but there's still those times where Riley Moss is being said, hey, good luck. You're going to have to go against such and such guy today a little bit. And we've also played some great number 2 wide receivers too. You think of Devontae Smith. You think of with the, there's been some really good guys, and he's held his own. Like, yes, he's given up a couple catches, but by the end of it, you're kind of going, okay, yep, that was a 30-yard catch, but then it still ended up only a field goal. How much did that really hurt us? That explosive play, 3 points, we can handle that. Yep. You know, if you're giving up the touchdowns, that's when it becomes a problem. And his touchdown to Keenan Allen, that wasn't on him. He had to cover for like 5 seconds, 6 seconds. It was a perfect throw. He was still right there in perfect coverage. I don't blame him on that one bit. So yeah, I think he's having a good season so far. I think the cornerbacks, they've been put in the most pressure of anybody on that defense, because like I said, they're being asked to be in straight man coverage. Pass rush doesn't get home, you better be able to cover for 4 or 5 seconds. Now, thankfully, pass rush has been getting home most of the time, but they really are. They're being put on an island and said, we need you to be great. And so far, I think they've done admirably. Not 100% perfect by any means, but they've been pretty darn good for that. So, and they've got some easier matchups coming up now. I think you're really going to see that secondary begin to take over a little bit. And like I said, they got to start catching these balls. They got to. Ponga, oh man, he had such an amazing opportunity there to have a pick six and just dropped it. So can't have that moving forward. You know, when you get into some of these closer games, we saw it last night. Pick six was the big difference there. It changed the entire course of that game. Chiefs driving to score a touchdown. Boom, all of a sudden it turns into 7 points the other way. That's a 14-point swing in a game that ended up being a 4-point game.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. I do see a question from Todd asking about Jermaine Pratt. It's hard to say. The Raiders are so dysfunctional right now. Maybe he comes in for a tryout. Maybe it's like a practice squad addition. But are you wanting to move on from Lavelle Bailey or any of your other undrafted guys, you know, the special teams ones, linebackers as well? I think right now you're probably still in wait and see and evaluation mode with the linebackers you have. Luckily, you're don't have the worst matchups coming up on that front. But if they, you know, let's say the Jets just run them over and the linebackers are getting exposed because they can't cover Breece Hall / Justin Fields at the same time, then maybe we have a conversation to change some things. But right now, yeah, just a lot of the defense. They're playing great. Pass rush is phenomenal. PS2, bounced back the last 2 weeks. But really, I think the mark of a great defense is not just stopping the opposing team, not just getting after the quarterback. It's taking the ball away. And right now, Denver is not doing that to a high degree. So something to aim for. And with Justin Fields coming up, got a chance to do that. So hopefully, you know, if some of those hits on the quarterback start wrapping around with those arms and punching that ball out as well. But yeah, really feeling good about the Broncos this next 6-game stretch. I want everybody to remember the lows of those 2 losses that we had, followed by the high of that Eagle game, and just like think about cutting the middle there. So obviously you can fan how you want, but losses out of these next 6 games, 5 games, definitely winnable. Denver might lose one of them. Not the end of the world by any means. Bo Nix might play bad on one. Defense might play bad on one. What's the trend? What's the overall sample say? So feeling good about this team. Concern right now with the offensive line, but there's just teams don't really have depth on the offensive line anyway. So Sean Payton, Bo Nix, Zach Strief. Okay, guys, eyes on you. Get the job done. And whoever steps up, next guy up. So any final thoughts? Carl, Denver's in a good spot, and the AFC is open. AFC West is open. Why not Denver? Why not this year? You know, just stack wins, and we'll see where we fall.
Yeah, like I said, I've been riding high all day. You know, I live in Chiefs Kingdom or whatever you want to call it. And the Chiefs fans very much were pretty quiet today. I didn't get any text of, hey, did you see the Chiefs last night? And so that's always kind of a nice feeling when they have that little bit of a letdown. When they've been the team doing that almost every week, it seems like last year. Now to have that happen to them. But for the Broncos, like I said, they're heading in the right direction. Got a real opportunity to seize this division with the Chargers. Offensive line down bad. They're probably going to struggle. Hampton ended up getting out for maybe 4 weeks here. Raiders not looking great. This really is the time for the Broncos to capture this division and show that they deserve to be at the top of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Well, appreciate everyone joining us today. All the folks coming to Super Chats. Michael Ronquillo, Coach Chris, good to see you. Gifting David Youngkin in here, David Carmelo, Phil a few times, our guy Naj, Bossman Jay as well, of course. Appreciate you. Denver Luke giving compliments to the dog. Shout out to Summit. Having a good time back here. Cody W as well. You guys are all great. We appreciate you. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter, X, whatever it is. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Follow Carl at Carl Dumler, MHH. We're also at Mile High Huddle over at Facebook.com. You can follow us at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, number one way you can listen to us, of course, is subscribing, liking, and sharing over on YouTube. And while you're there, become a member. Help us. It helps us a heck of a lot. You can follow us there. The ticker now says become a member at what it says there underneath. I'm not going to read it. We're just going to get out of here. It's time for bedtime for the little guy anyway. So appreciate everybody. Shout out to Scott working the 1s and 2s in the background. I will be back again tomorrow morning. Carl, I'll see you again next week. Maybe I'll be shifted from the bedroom here to the office. Not the office, the guest room, which is going to be my recording area. But we'll see. Final thing, running late. Score prediction. I see the chat's doing it. I want yours. I'll get a chance to talk about it, but I want yours. I'm not going to hold you to it for your what you send into Chad later, though.
Okay, I'll go. I think this will be a really good game for the Broncos offense, and I'm going to go 31-10. I think this is that game where Broncos just really take off. And like you said earlier, when the Broncos play an inferior opponent, it seems like last year they dominated. It was a 2-touchdown kind of game. And I feel like that's going to be where we see the Broncos in this one.
What was the Broncos-Falcons score last season? 38-6? I think we're looking at a 38-6 kind of game here, which scares me because I'm typically, curmudgeon. Let's see him prove it again. But I think this is a team that's reeling. And I'm so shocked. Aaron Glenn, like how good he was last year with all the injuries to the Lions and like better than the sum of their parts. The Jets have pieces. They're playing like absolute dog war. Like the offense is like kind of fun in a run design kind of way. Garrett Wilson's great. Their defense is so freaking bad. So I'm going to go Denver right now. I think I'll go 33-12. Nah, that's too much. 33-9. We'll go that way. Yeah. Denver's going to beat him up. 33. Oh, there it is. Yep. I'm stealing Mr. Roush's. Good to see you guys. We're going to get out of here. Summit, can you say bye? No, I can't. All right. Oh, he's comatose. What's going on? He's calm. But appreciate everyone. Have a great rest of your night. Choose kindness and compassion as always. Go Broncos.